your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to the Daily Premier League podcast. It's Wednesday, the 24th of September. It's the early morning edition. The sun has just risen over Oakwood and is streaming through Nick's window. My name's Nick. My name's Ken Davis. It's not Nick Britton. My name's Ken Davis. His name is Nick Britton. And together, we bring you the very latest news, analysis and insight every day on the most competitive football league in the world. Hello, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm very well, but you've managed to get two things wrong already. A, I don't even know where Oakwood is, let alone whether the sun is rising.
You're not in Oakwood, are you?
And B, my name's Nick, yeah, and your name's Ken.
Yeah.
But hey,
You're Littleover.
We're off to a good start.
You're in Littleover. Why do I think Oakwood? I've been through a lot recently. But anyway, welcome, Nick from Littleover. And a big welcome, not only to Nick, but to everyone who makes Listen to Daily Premier League podcast part of their daily listening routine. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, leave us a rating. Generally, just join in the fun because we like to have a little bit of fun as well as covering all the news and stories. There are three things on today's agenda. Firstly, it was a very busy night in the third round of League Cup for Premier League teams. Some interesting takeaways from those games, some interesting games to come tonight as well. Secondly, in a move that is relevant to the Premier League, to the makeup of the Premier League at least, the EFL, the Championship, are currently analysing changes to the format of their playoff structure, which would expand it to include teams who finish as low as 8th, which essentially is the top third of the league. So want to talk about that. Want to talk about, actually, is that a smart move? It's used in the National League, and I can talk about that because I've seen it in action in the National League. But is it really fair to expect the team who finishes over the course of a season in 8th place to have any chance in the Premier League? So that's what we talk about. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is Newcastle. Distinct lack of goals. I think it's 3 in 5 games. Eddie Howe was talking about it a couple of days ago. Nick has spent a lot of his time through his marital status watching Newcastle, and we want to touch on that. So there we go. So the first thing to talk about really is the League Cup last night. Some interesting games. Anything particularly catch your eye last night, Nick?
Yes, 2 words. Diego and Gomez, who scored an unbelievably good hat-trick for Brighton and Hove Albion away at Barnsley. And it wasn't just, he scored 4 actually, but it was the quality of these goals was unbelievable. And whilst his first one was a bit of a close range finish, his second one you go, wow, what a hit, because he's running away from goal. He's kind of on the edge of the area, if you like, the penalty area that is, and he smacks it first time across the goalkeeper like a rocket into the top corner, into the far corner. And you're going, whoa, what a hit. Little did we know that a few minutes later, it was something that, I mean, it's potentially goal of the season stuff already, whereby it's a lofted ball up towards the Barnsley defence. Jake Rooney kind of nods it down. Jake Rooney is on loan from Derby at Barnsley. And, I mean, it's not the best header by any stretch of the imagination, and it's into Gomez's path, but he's a fully 31, 32 yards out, and he hits it first time. And from the angle behind the goal, you kind of think, right, this is going straight to the goalkeeper. And then it kind of veers to the goalkeeper's right a little bit. So the goalkeeper kind of shifts his body weight slightly, and suddenly it just bends. And it bends with such swerve, it ends up in the top corner of the goalkeeper's left. And the goalkeeper's kind of looking at it and diving and just looks completely flummoxed by the whole thing. It was an unbelievable hit. To get that bend and that whip on it.
Is that skill or is that ball dynamics? I mean, do you think he was trying to do that?
It's all in the way you hit the ball. It's all the way that you connect with the ball on your boot and the spin that you put on it. So yeah, I mean, you can. There's always an element of luck in these things, isn't there? Especially when you're 30 yards out. But you can intend to strike the ball in a certain way with the intention of sending it in a certain direction. So
It
you either,
is
in other words, if you put your laces through it, it tends to go straight. If you whip it with the inside of your boot, it tends to curl around one way, and if you, et cetera, you know what I mean.
I
And
do.
actually, professional footballers are so skillful, and the boots they use these days are so adept that they can manipulate the ball in lots and lots of different ways.
It's the equivalent in baseball of the knuckleball, which is the whole purpose of the knuckleball is to hit the ball or to throw the ball as fast as you can, but with absolutely no revolutions on the ball at all. So the ball doesn't move or turn revolutionary in any way. And what happens then, it gets absolutely deflected by the wind resistance it gets, and it gets this side wobble. It gets wobble. And so he hit it like a baseball pitcher would throw a knuckleball.
Well, no, he didn't, but I take your point, because actually that knuckleball was something that was really perfected by Cristiano Ronaldo from free kicks.
It
And you
was.
could see, and it had just wicked dip on the end of it,
Yeah.
and you could see it. I know exactly what you mean. You could see it kind of wobble in the air without even turning, and then it would just dip.
Yeah, absolutely no revolutions on the ball. Fascinating, and what a great result for Brighton.
Yeah, brilliant result.
By the way, and plug to Road to World Cup 26, which if you're interested in the World Cup 26, as we all are, you might want to listen to. It is the original and best World Cup podcast out there. We did a bit of a deep dive into Paraguay, who we all fancy. We all fancy in quite a big way, because they started off on -3 points and they still finished second in CONMEBOL. So Paraguay.
You mean Ecuador?
Oh, I do mean Ecuador. No, he's Paraguayan.
Yeah, you're talking about Ecuador finished second in CONMEBOL.
What is it? It's 6 minutes gone. I've made 3 absolutely basic errors.
Paraguay did qualify.
They qualified it. Yeah, they're a decent team, Paraguay. And we have covered Paraguay on that. So do check it out. It's very interesting. So Brighton win 6-0. Fulham win 1-0 against Cambridge.
Yeah, I mean, look, expected win. You expect teams to beat teams from lower leagues. You expect Premier League teams to certainly beat teams from further on down the leagues. 1-0, fine. It's one of those where you just get on with it. I think for teams like Fulham, the League Cup is not a priority. You make lots of changes. You give lots of game time to players who are in and around the fringes, and move on.
Don't you think Fulham should be targeting the League Cup as something worth going for, though? Because Newcastle did it last year, and it brought the city together.
I think every Premier League team should be in with a shout of winning the League Cup, but the reality is they're not. If you look down the history of both the League Cup and the FA Cup, it's very rare. It does happen, can happen, but it's very rare that a team outside what you might call the big 5 or 6 teams in the Premier League win it. I mean, to the point that when Newcastle win it, and they're a big team, everybody goes nuts as if Derby or Wrexham had won it.
Well, we'll come to that in a moment.
It was such an extreme example, and yet they are a big side. So for Fulham to go and win it would be even more extraordinary.
I thought the League Cup would represent Fulham's best chance of silverware. But I take your point. Chelsea
it might still, because they're through. They won. They beat Cambridge, so they're through to the next round.
Chelsea 2-1 away at Lincoln, again expected.
Expected, although not. I would say not a game that was one for the Chelsea supporters to celebrate much, because there was a period in the game, particularly in the early part of it, where Lincoln were well on top. And actually, if you look at the stats, although Lincoln had only 28% possession, 28, and Chelsea had 71, Lincoln had more shots on goal. That's 16 shots. Sorry, they had more shots, 16-14. Chelsea had 4 on target, Lincoln had 2 on target. But there was a period of the game where Lincoln were winning and were well on top.
Interesting.
So, Chelsea turned it around with 2 goals just after half-time.
Yeah.
And then it was probably pretty comfortable after that. But it was not a comfortable night, I don't think, for Chelsea. And it's not one where we're all waiting, aren't we? And we've spoken about this on the Premier League podcast quite a lot. We're just waiting to see what Chelsea are going to be like. We don't know what they're going to be like yet this season.
Yeah.
We're waiting for them to either kick in or just continue to be a little bit like this, where they're very unpredictable and actually not
very inconsistent team. Chelsea, very difficult to predict what's going to happen there. Wolves 2, Everton 0 in the only all Premier League tie of the night. Didn't see that coming. I thought I fancy Everton this season, but obviously that's going to be a disappointment too.
When we talk about the League Cup and we talk about, well, does it matter to Premier League teams? Sometimes results really matter. Really matter. And I think for Vitor Pereira, who's Wolves team have played 5, lost 5 in the Premier League, yet to win a game. This was a big result. I don't care it was in the League Cup. I don't care that there were lots of changes to both sides. And the fact it was against a Premier League team and the fact they've won it 2-0, I think is a big result. Wolves are looking for something. Well, they're looking for something, anything that can kickstart their season.
Yeah. No, good, and well done to them, because Everton are no pushovers these days. Obviously, Wrexham 2, Reading 0. Doesn't directly affect the Premier League this season, but probably will next. So that's an excellent...
No, Reading can't jump 2 leagues in one go.
So
it's impossible. You can't go from League One to the Premier League in one go. So don't worry about it.
A great get-right performance by Wrexham after winning at the weekend. As we all head up to the big game at the weekend, Derby.
It is a big game at the weekend. This might be the last podcast we ever do together.
And Liverpool 2, Southampton 1, which was an interesting watch last night on the TV. Interesting for lots of reasons. Liverpool were patchy. Liverpool did the Liverpool thing of getting a late goal, and then Ekitike decides to have a brain fart. What was your take on the game, and what was your take on Ekitike?
It's a decent enough game. Yeah, it's a decent enough game. I mean, Southampton contributed, I thought, very well.
Yeah, it
was an entertaining game. I mean, they did a very Southampton season 23-24. In fact, I was messaging the guys who run our GSPN Southampton podcast, and if you haven't heard that, it's very good. Daily Southampton, it's very good. I was messaging them last night saying, "Am I stuck in a time warp? Have I been rewound 12 months here? Because that's a very last season Southampton." 60 seconds, wasn't it? They missed an absolute sitter at one end.
Yeah, give it away.
Within about 30 seconds, commit total Harry Carey at the other end, where the goalkeeper tries to pass it out. It goes straight to a Liverpool player who gives it to him. They never
learn. We were talking about this yesterday.
Goes to his
probably don't listen. They should listen to this podcast. They wouldn't do those kind of silly things.
Exactly.
But Ekitike, though, I mean, lack of professionalism, but do you think he's going to learn from that?
I hope he learns from it. First of all, let me just say, it was notable because Alexander Isak scored his first goal in a Liverpool shirt. Yeah. That was Liverpool's first. Liverpool's second came from a tap-in from Ekitike, from Kiesa's very, very good run.
Chiesa looked very good, didn't he?
I like Chiesa. And actually talked to some Liverpool fans, and indeed talked to, this is my second plug in a few seconds, speak to the GSPN Daily Liverpool podcasters, and they all rate him. Yeah. They all rate him highly. And he hasn't really had that much game time since he arrived. What a season!
He's not even in their Champions League squad.
Yeah, I like him.
He's a very good player. So yeah, Ekitike taps it in, goes and takes his shirt off, and sees red.
Yes.
Is that a fair? By the way, is that a fair rule? Do you think?
Which, considering he's got a red shirt and a red undershirt that he was wearing, a red card seems only applicable. Is it a fair rule? Yeah, of course it is. But I mean, well, it doesn't matter whether it's a fair rule or not. It's been the rule for absolutely ages. I mean, it's not something that's just been introduced and everybody goes, "Oh, I forgot about that." It's been a rule in football for a long time.
I did actually look yesterday whether it's a rule in France. I was giving him some credit and think, I wonder if he's not used to it. But it's not. So you see UEFA Europe-wide rule.
And there's no. I mean, you say it's a stupid and pointless rule, but it's pointless taking his shirt off. Why do you want to take your shirt off?
I mean, it's not as if he's got anything underneath to show, is it? I mean, it's just another red shirt.
It's a red undergarment. But my point is, why do you want to take your shirt off in the first place? What's the point? I don't really understand it. Bear in mind his first yellow card, which happened not long after he came on, because he came on at half time for Isak. His first yellow card was stupid as well. It was just like throwing a ball up in the air. I did like Arne Slot's comments, by the way, after it, because Arne Slot, who I'm a big fan of, I think he's a very, very good manager, and obviously doing a brilliant job. He's sort of proper old school. He's proper old school, and he said,
Dutch, and so therefore he won't mince his words.
Well, he said it's not as in stupid because it was his second yellow. It's stupid even if you haven't got a yellow card. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned, but I did score a few goals. And if I went past 3 players and put it in the top corner, then maybe you can say this is all about me. But if you score a goal like you did last night, which was just a tap-in from Chiesa's run, I would turn to Chiesa and say, it's all about you, Federico. Great assist, great run, and I didn't have a lot to do. Maybe that's me being old school. It was stupid, not smart in every sense. The good thing is his teammates helped him get the win over the line, etc. But he's now suspended, of course, for Saturday's game away at Crystal Palace. Interestingly, we were watching the game last night, and I was saying this sort of Isaac Ekitike kind of pivot.
Rivalry?
Well, rivalry, pivot, call it what you want, means that whoever starts only ever gets an hour, and then the other one automatically comes on. That dynamic has now shifted because obviously Isaac is going to start now on Saturday against Palace, you would think.
Yeah.
Ekitike won't be featuring, and this might just change. You know how tiny little things change in football, don't you? We were talking about moments yesterday on yesterday's podcast, weren't we? This is a moment, Ken. I know it's your favourite word. This is a moment which might just shift the dynamic a bit.
It might. Isaac goes and scores 2 goals. Then that's it. He's the first choice number 9, I suspect. Interesting, very interesting game. We've got 4 games tonight, by the way. Very quickly look at them. Huddersfield against Man City, Newcastle against Bradford. We'll come on to Newcastle later. Spurs v Doncaster, Port Vale against Arsenal. I don't really see any potential banana skins there, do you?
No. The only one that kind of you might look at and go, is Port Vale Arsenal, depending on what team Arsenal put out.
Can't see it.
If they just put out their under 21s or something, then
maybe
they've got a chance. But no, I don't foresee any difficulty in any of those.
Fair enough. As we know, in football, it pays to get your team selection right. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery partner, and we chose Zencastr, because Zencastr makes it easy to bring your vision to life, share it with your audience, wherever they may be. So with 4K video recording, easy AI editing, and top-tier distribution, all in one platform, which is the key, if you've got a story to tell it with Zencastr. Check the show notes for a lot more of those details.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Okay, second talking point of the day is this proposed change to the format for the Championship of including 6 teams in the playoffs at the end of the season, of which 1 will go up. Similar to the National League. National League is slightly different, though, because National League only has 1 automatic promotion spot. That's why it was introduced in the National League, to make it a little bit fairer compared to all the other leagues. Seems a little bit unnecessary to me in relation to the Championship. What's your view on it, Nick?
I don't like it. I think it's a stupid rule, or stupid idea, rather. I don't think it works in the National League at all. And the playoffs are brilliant. I love the playoffs. They're really, really, really good. Keep them as they are. Why are you mucking around with it? Literally, what is the point? I don't understand the justification for even thinking about it, let alone doing it. Because if you're going to start, I mean, what is this? And how far does it go? Are we then going to see the entire top half of the league in 5 years' time enter some kind of end of season competition? Is this all about money? Is it all about this kind of modern culture of everybody has to have a go and get a medal, regardless of taking part? I just don't see any sense in it. And if you look at the Championship table over the last couple of years, 2 years ago, Middlesbrough finished in 8th on 69 points. Ipswich, who finished in 2nd, who were then the second automatic team to go up, finished on 96 points. Yeah. So there's a big gap. Last year, even bigger gap. Millwall finished on 8th, 66 points. Burnley finished in 2nd on 100 points. And Leeds finished on 100 points. And if you take it back a year, because we don't know how this season's going to pan out yet, Leicester finished on 97th. Ipswich finished on 96th. Leeds finished on 97th, Southampton 87. Now, Leicester went up, obviously Ipswich went up, Southampton went up through the playoffs. They all got relegated. So if the teams finishing high up in the top of the league get relegated, they have that amount. They've got that amount of quality during a championship season to amass the amount of points that they have amassed. What is a team that can't even get even close to that going to do if it sort of flukes its way through the playoffs somehow and gets promoted? What happens if you dump a mid-table championship team in the Premier League when teams even at the top of the championship can't compete?
Derby lose their record of the lowest point scorers ever in the Premier League.
Well, they nearly did it last year, didn't they? Southampton nearly beat Derby's record. They managed to scab a win at the end of the season, which took them over that 11 points. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And my other real issue about this, and this is where I refer to the National League, is that last season, and this happened, so I I lived in York for a little bit, so I've got an interest in York City, and I like to see how they're getting on. And this happened last season, and it happened about 2 or 3 seasons ago as well. York finished second. Now, the way the National League playoffs work is that the top team goes up, fine. Second and third kind of hang around for a bit, whilst fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh have a little kind of playoff competition. Mini competition. And then the winner of that mini competition, one team plays third place, one team plays second, and then the winner of that goes into final. Oldham Athletic last year finished way below York, something like 25 points below York, maybe more. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a big, big, big gap. They won their first round and then came to play York. By the time they played York, it was about 3 weeks until after the season had ended, and York just looked totally rusty, totally kind of not really. Yeah, they weren't game ready. They hadn't played any competitive fixtures, whereas Oldham had, and they got the momentum behind them from winning that. And I genuinely think it's an unfair advantage. And they went to York and rolled them over 3-0 and rolled them over quite comfortably. But they look fit, they look sharp, and York looked very rusty. So why are you penalising a team that finishes in second place by making them wait for 2 or 3 weeks to play another game when they deserve, if anything, they deserve to be given an advantage?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Obviously, if it was happening in the Championship, it would be the teams in third and fourth would be waiting. And I agree with you. I've seen it too many times. We know that playoffs are all about momentum. And if you take all the air out of the tyre because you're sitting there playing training games when the other team that is coming at you has played 2 really competitive games, you're going to be on the back foot. And York saw that, and I think we'd see that in the Championship. The only thing I'd say about the Championship is it's a pretty competitive league. You can throw a very small net over about 7 teams. Any of them could finish 8th. I mean, finishing 8th in the Championship is like anyone. There's always about 6 much better teams, 6 dreadful teams, and everyone else is just the same. And what we're going to see is a very much the same team end up in 8th spot and end up in the playoffs. I don't see any reason. I think the Championship is one of the most competitive leagues in the world. It's a fantastic watch. It's always exciting. Everyone's got a chance. Everyone can beat everyone. I don't think really there's much need to change this. Don't know where the idea is coming from. Don't know why. Because actually I think they play less games because they're generally one leg, these games. So I don't really understand the issue.
The other issue is, does this then elongate the playoff season, if you like, the end of season playoff season?
Yes, it will.
So the final is actually later. And we already know that teams who go up in a playoff final, through the playoff final, are 3 or 4 weeks later than anybody else and the other 2 teams in terms of their transfer business. Can't do any transfer activity until you know whether you're promoted or not and which league you're going to be playing in. So if you then become 5 weeks later than the other 2 promoted teams, and of course the rest of the Premier League, it becomes a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, interesting. So that's got a pretty bucket of cold water being poured on it here, except with the one note that if Wrexham finish 8th and go up, it's the best idea football ever has come up with. Now, Global Sports Podcast. Don't
just run on there into an ad. Just leave that hanging out as if it's going to happen.
Just say it.
Not this year, it won't. Not next year, it won't, because you'll be back trying to get back up to the Championship from League One. Maybe the season after. We'll see.
Anyway, so Global Sports Podcast Network is partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. And believe me, we need them at the moment because your body is unique. Because without knowing what deficiencies you have, taking off-the-shelf supplements mean you're probably not getting enough of the nutrients you do need, maybe too many of the ones you don't. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements. They're specifically designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels. So click on the show notes, use the code GSPN2025, you'll get a 40% discount off your first order, and your body will thank you.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Okie dokie. Right, final thing to talk about today is your beloved Newcastle. You're kind of loving Newcastle. They're in the pecking order.
Steady, yeah. They're in the pecking order, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat behind Derby and Crystal Palace, isn't it? Are they behind York, would you say?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. So 3 goals in 5 games. Obviously, Newcastle have had this weird off-season. They couldn't bring anyone in. Isak was being Isak. Lots of upheaval, lots of late changes. Eddie Howe's talking about the fact that it is an issue for them. They know it's an issue for them, but obviously made some moves to strengthen their up front. What's your take on that? Is that something for Newcastle fans to be very, very unhappy about and nervous about? And is this going to be a recurring theme of the season, do you think?
No, I think they'll be absolutely fine. They've found them. What Eddie Howe says is absolutely right. They've had the biggest change they've had for a while over the summer. All of that kind of Isak stuff. Will he? Won't he stay? Is he not going to sign? What's he doing? Etc. Meant that the moves that Eddie Howe could make in the transfer market, i.e. bringing in Nick Voltemada, bringing in Jan Wisser, were very, very late in the day. And he's absolutely right when he says that in an ideal world, you'd have that full pre-season together, you form friendships, you form partnerships, you get to know how each other, all the players are playing and how your teammates play. And we talked a bit about this the other day regards to Liverpool, exactly the same kind of thing. And when you start the season, they've already had that period where they're gelling in and you're kind of hitting the ground running a little bit. Now, Newcastle have not been able to do any of that because of this ridiculous Isak saga. So they bought in Voltemada and they bought in Wisser. Wisser's straight away injured and won't play until after the next international break. Voltemada isn't quite up to speed with the Premier League. Had a great debut against Wolves, scored a cracking goal, played really, really well, but has then had his time very cleverly, in my opinion, and very rightly managed. So he was on the bench for the Barcelona game, and he started and indeed played much of the Bournemouth game at the weekend. Now, I'm not. It's a funny one. I'm not sure that's the. I totally agree, by the way, that he needs his time managed, but I would have played him against Barcelona. Even if it's just for do what Liverpool did last night with Isak, just say, right, go out and give me 45 minutes. And we'll bring you off at half time. Because knowing how Newcastle was going to set up against Barcelona and knowing how they were always going to start the game, which was like an absolute train, they started brilliantly, but they played Anthony Gordon as a 9. He missed a couple of sitters. We know he's not a number 9. We don't think he's any good there. Voltemada would have scored one of those, at least one, maybe 2 goals. And then bring them off half time when you're in an advantageous position. As it was, they waited till later on to bring him in when they're already losing the game, and Barcelona are fully in control. So I totally agree with him having his time managed. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. You've got to worry about injury, because if you lose Wisser for a few weeks and then you lose Voltemada for a few weeks, you really are up the creek with a very little Anthony Gordon paddle to worry about. And then so all of that's fine, but if we fast forward a few weeks' time and going into the real heat of the season, you've got Voltemada fit and playing, you've got Wisser fit and playing, Newcastle will be absolutely fine.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. They still seem very depleted of resources. Voltemada looks like a decent player. He's carrying an awful load there in terms of the responsibility at the top. I'm a big fan of Anthony Elanga. And I think he was a smart signing from Nottingham Forest, and he'll do well. I think there are question marks over Harvey Barnes. Yeah. I think, and I may be wrong here, but I think there are question marks over Anthony Gordon, although he is much better out wide than he is through the middle, as we've seen. But and with Wisser and with Elanga and with Barnes and with Gordon and with Jacob Murphy, and I'm a big fan of Jacob Murphy, they've got enough players there to supply the bullets and to score goals and to take. I don't necessarily agree that this is all going to be on Voltemada, that there's going to be too much pressure on him, because I think there are goals elsewhere. And the other thing about him is you can't really look at him and go, well, he's a direct replacement for Alexander Isak, because he's a different type of player. He will drop in, he'll receive, he'll link, whereas Isak was very much an out-and-out traditional number 9, where he'd run off the shoulder, he'd look to get in behind, and other than scoring goals, which I know sounds ridiculous, but other than scoring goals, that's kind of what he did. So Voltemada is not that kind of player. So Newcastle might just have to kind of
just reshape slightly the way they play. But I don't think they'll have any difficulty whatsoever. I think they'll be in for another good season because they've strengthened elsewhere in the team. I think Jacob Ramsey's a very good signing. I think Chow is a very good signing, coming at centre half the other night, and they'll be absolutely fine.
That's an interesting one. I'm nervous about Newcastle, I have to say. Looking at the next 4 games, Arsenal at home, that's not going to be easy. Forest at home might be a bit easier than it was last season. Brighton away, Brighton look a decent team. Fulham at home, Fulham are better at Craven Cottage than they are away. Need a couple of wins there, I think.
And I think they'll get them. You know, the key, as well as all the players we've talked about, is their midfield 3. And the midfield 3 of Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton and Sandro Tonali is as good as you'll find in the Premier League. Yeah. They're great. They're a great 3. If you keep them fit, and you've got Jacob Ramsey to come into that mix, there's no reason why they can't finish in the top 4 or 5 again this season.
Interesting. I think it's starting to look a bit of a stretch for me. But they've got a good get-right game tonight. Home against Bradford City. Got to be an interesting game. Of all the 4 games involving the Premier League clubs tonight, I think that's the one I'm going to keep my eye on closest. I think Newcastle need to turn in some kind of performance tonight. I'd like to see a 2 or 3-0 and kind of get the scoring boots on.
What makes you think they won't?
Momentum. I just don't think they've got a very good momentum going into them.
Well, Bradford have had a great start to the season.
Yeah, they have.
They're top of League One. They've played 9. Yeah. They've got 20 points. They've had a terrific start. They're attracting big crowds.
It's a potential banana skin. I think Newcastle will win, but I don't. It's not going to be an easy game for them.
Yeah, we shall see.
Right, on that bombshell, we shall call it a day. It's Wednesday morning. Hope you've enjoyed that. That's been a fascinating little review through those 3 talking points of the Premier League. Join us again tomorrow for more fun and games in the Daily Premier League and see how Newcastle get on. And Nick, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. All our listeners, enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm
about to get on a train up to Scotland, up to Edinburgh.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I'm about to make myself a cup of tea and put my feet up for 5 minutes. And obviously the big story on everyone's talking about is Wrexham Derby at the weekend. We'll try and cover that in a bit more detail as we close the week out. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening.
That's got to be worth an entire episode of the Daily Premier League podcast.
So. It will start a new podcast. Anyway, brilliant. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.